Good evening. This is a work session for the Molalla City Council for Wednesday, August 26, 2026. We'll do roll call beginning with Councilor Bartholomew.
Councilor Bartholomew present.
Council President Vermillion present.
Mayor Kaiser present.
Councilor Childress present.
Councilor Schenkel present.
Councilor Gilmer present.
Planning Manager Dan Zinder present.
Violet Brown, 3J Consulting present.
Assistant City Manager Matt Cortell present.
City Recorder Christy Teets present.
Dan Huff, City Manager present.
And via Zoom, Councilor Basinius.
Councilor Basinius present.
Thank you, sir. Please note that if a councilor wishes to discuss a major policy issue that is not on the agenda, it should be raised during new business for consideration at a future work session or meeting, not during the current meeting. Decisions cannot be voted on during work session. Tonight's discussion will be on the urban growth boundary update. Mr. Zinder, we're ready for your staff report.
Alrighty, well, good evening, Council. This is really your session to talk to us, so I just have a few words waxing poetic before I turn it over to Violet to give the last few details of the recent few months. So now we're 6 years, 6 studies, 4 public meetings, and countless council and PC sessions into this urban growth boundary expansion process. Many of you have been here for the whole ride, and some of you have been scrambling as we all try to learn about this together to catch up who've come a little later into the game. And a lot of times we've felt like we've been dragged into this process, but I think we've come out of it with a unique and hard-fought boundary that'll help Molalla move forward. We did some things that no communities have done before us. We were the guinea pig in the sequential process that allowed us to step back and look at our employment lands. And heading into the expansions, that helped us rezone about 42.5 acres within the existing urban growth boundary and sort of stop holding a bunch of industrial land that was really not being developed and probably won't be. We dug deeper into infrastructure costs with a cost analysis report that, as far as I know, is unique to Molalla. In that report, we found something that nobody really expected, which is that the costs of going into our exception lands would be relatively similar than going north with the UGB expansion. In some areas, even cheaper. This isn't a loss. It's information that helps us make an informed decision so that we can feel confident we're making a choice that won't set the city back financially. I'm personally excited for the next phases of the project. Last week, we submitted our application for a transportation growth management grant that will help fund the concept planning and infrastructure planning in the expansion area. We'll also have TSP, Transportation Systems Plan updates generally, and local wetlands inventory work to do afterwards. We'll be looking into how we'll improve and signalize our transportation facilities in this process to mitigate and hopefully improve traffic flow throughout the expansion area and into the city. We'll be zoning the expansion areas. We'll be looking about how these areas can connect to existing parks and trail networks through the city and developing those out. We'll be looking in to how and when we provide pedestrian connections into our downtown. I believe some of the members of our public will be coming to start these conversations in the regular session tonight. We've heard loudly from folks who don't want to see the city grow. Since the town hall meeting in July, though, I've heard quietly from people who are excited to come into the urban growth boundary. People disappointed that they were left out of the urban growth boundary from basically all sides of towns, north, south, east, west. So people wanted to be here, and people just on the outside who want to make sure that their way of life isn't overwhelmed by the new growth. Some of these people are now seeing the development as maybe an opportunity for new adjacent infrastructure to improve their streets and provide new areas to walk and explore. We're getting into that work, and with the dedication and oversight that we've already seen between our council, staff, community members, incoming community members, and peripheral residents and agency partners, we're going to continue to build something great together. Last piece, there's been a lot of talk about data centers over the last couple weeks. We've provided the story to you, a fact sheet that's provided to each of our council members. We've also got a bunch available for the public at the front table by the door you all came in. Bottom line, we haven't talked to anyone data center related. Staff hasn't talked to anyone data center related in over a year and a half, and that consideration never made it into our economic opportunities analysis. So it wasn't a consideration for our expansion. That has to do with the other target industries and the needs identified within our economic opportunities analysis for those areas. Frankly, we don't likely have utility capacity for data centers. It's something we need to look in for, and staff is here to help guide whatever way you want to go with them. That's all I've got. Over Violet.
Sure. Can you help me get back to the
Oh, yeah.
beginning?
Here we go.
Awesome. So this slide, thank you, first of all, thank you for letting me come back. I always enjoy coming out to Molalla and answering your questions, and it's been a while since we've talked UGB, or at least UGB only. So this is a slide I showed last year. It just goes through the whole process. As you guys know, and for those of you maybe new to the process, this got kicked off because every city in Oregon who hits 10,000 people is required to do a housing analysis to show that they have space for their housing growth that's being anticipated. When that happened for Molalla, the H&A was adopted back in 2023. It showed that there wasn't enough space, and Molalla is required by law to then expand. And so that's what triggered this whole process. Then the first thing you have to do is look within your existing UGB to say, are we using our land efficiently enough before we start looking elsewhere? City did that, as Dan mentioned, found 43, I think, acres of underutilized industrial land that's probably better suited for residential, which is probably why it didn't develop as industrial. And they rezoned it, so that took out probably half of the need for expansion right there through those efficiency measures. We then drew the preliminary boundary based on the law, which says you go a mile out, and everything in that becomes your study area. Everything in that has to be analyzed and looked at, and all the pros and cons weighed, right? So that you don't go into the process with one idea, right? So you've got a mile boundary, and we did all of that over a year ago. The law then gives you different priorities. Mainly, to simplify it, it just says if anything's already urbanized, if it's already developed, that's where you go first. And if it's high value farmland, that's your land of last resort, right? We're gonna protect that at all costs, and you can only expand there if you really absolutely can show on a legal basis that you have to, that you have no other options. So we did that. We divided it into sub areas to allow for the ease of comparison. And I came and I provided all of that information to you guys. We did a big public meeting that was very well attended. We did an online version of it. And then we put a pause. And we said we can't really make a decision until we know what this is going to cost for infrastructure. We then put in, with the city and I helped put in for another grant. We got another grant from DLCD to fund that process. And we got Dyer Partnership to do a very detailed, wonderful cost estimate, which I believe is in your packet. I will warn you, when you look at the cost estimate, the sub areas are drawn a little bit differently. We worked with Dyer to say what makes sense for you guys in terms of what parcels do we cluster together for a cost estimate. I'm not an engineer. They had some different ideas, so we drew them a little bit differently. So what might have been sub area 4 in 2025 might be numbered differently this time. So we let the public know that because we had a big public meeting last month in July. Again, very well attended, went well over time with Q&A and all of that, and we presented out these cost estimates. And so one of the reasons, so now we're going forward with actually recommending which parcels would be included in the expansion. So this is that study area I mentioned and the prioritization. Everything that's in the orange is exception land. Again, we've used that term a number of times. It's the easiest way for me to remember is they've been given an exception to the exclusive farm use. So they're not required to use their land for exclusive farm use by the county based on a finding that the land has already been too developed as residential to ever revert back to farmland. So that's considered our already developed land. And that's that bright orange to the south. And because of different changes in elevation and other things, just looking at it, there was a general concern that it would be really prohibitively expensive to service. So that's why we wanted to pause and get those cost estimates. Third priority land, what would come, there is no second priority, if that's a question in the report. Second priority is marginal lands. Molalla doesn't have that, so we can skip over to third. third is farmland that isn't considered high value. You can see that yellow, if you follow, it's sort of all by that creek down there. And that's because of different slopes. It's not high value farmland. It could be farmed, but it's not considered high value because because of the slopes, and some of the terrain there makes it less desirable. And then everything else that's pale is considered your land of last resort, your high value. And again, that's based on county designations that, and based on soils. It's really not something that Molalla has control over those designations. We inherit those designations, and they just sort of come from the county and property owners putting in those applications for exceptions to the farm use. So these are our new sub areas. I told you they're numbered a little bit differently, just because of the needs for the making the cost estimates efficient and make them make sense. They had some good ideas, like if we're going to look at extending services down Molalla Ave or own away, it makes sense to cluster them into different sub areas based on that, so that you're servicing the same sub area with the same extension. So they sort of helped us edit those sub areas so they would make the most sense in terms of the cost estimates. And so again, this is that part where it's like, if you can show that something is impracticable to provide necessary public facilities, you get to exclude it at the very beginning. It gets taken out of your study area when you're drawing that study area at the beginning. So when you get to the prioritization, it doesn't factor in. So we thought, under the law, if we can, if it does show that the exception land, even though it's our first priority land, if it's prohibitively or impracticable to serve, we don't have to consider it, and therefore the city won't have to spend a bunch of money to extend services to an area that doesn't make sense. Like Dan said in his staff report, the cost estimates didn't come back that way. In fact, some parts of the exception land are cheaper to serve. And I'm not an engineer, I don't quite understand it, but they went into very much detail in the estimates over why they found that. And I believe, Dyer Partnership has worked with the city for a while, I think, and knows the city very well. So again, we have every reason to trust those estimates. So when we applied the rule, and I've talked to you guys about this before, there's 4 location factors. In summary, they look at proximity to the existing UGB, they look at environmental concerns, they look at, are you in close proximity to community services and libraries and schools, and are you really connected to the community? And you also look at compatibility with neighboring uses like farm uses and crops, saying, when we look at these location factors and we weigh these different sub areas against each other, how are they performing on those factors, those location factors? And based on that, you can see from the map what we found is the yellow would be residential, and it really tracks what the cost estimate said, which was the 2 logical places to extend services were Molalla Avenue, where services go pretty much right up until the existing UGB boundary, and so this would be extending them down a bit down Molalla Avenue, and then own away on the other side. And the reason those 2 don't really touch is the further you get away from those 2 streets, the harder and more expensive it becomes to service, because you're bringing them from Molalla, you're going down Molalla Avenue and then over, or down Own Away then over. So essentially what the city did is, based on those efficiency measures, we applied the law. We were told by DLCD to make some assumptions that in terms of how many units per acre things would develop as, and we were told under the safe harbor, which was what the H&A was adopted using, so we were sort of stuck with that it's 7 units an acre. So we assumed that all the rezoning would be, that happened within the UGB, would accommodate our need to the tune of 7 units an acre, and it was 44 acres or so. So we took that off of our need, and then the remaining need, we just assumed 7 units per acre, figured out how many acres that is, and then we went down Molalla Avenue and Own Away until we hit that number and no more. just to say, okay, we can say based on this that yes, Molalla is doing its due diligence, they're accommodating the growth that's expected to happen, but not taking additional land that isn't necessary, and clustering them where those services are gonna be the cheapest for the city. The additional land, so that comes to 177.5 acres total of the parcels there. And then what you'll see in green is your Parks Master Plan that you adopted last year included bringing Ivor Davies Park into the UGB. It's already owned by the city. Also, you'll say, well, wait, Ivor Davies Park isn't quite that big. But that land next to it, I'll show you in a second. It's part of our study area, sub-area 3. It's a lot of wetlands, and in your Parks Master Plan, it's identified for a trail connector that connects Ivor Davies Park with other parks in the city. So that trail alignment is part of your Parks Master Plan. So we did include bringing that in as well, so kind of making that connect to Ivor Davies Park. One of the things I haven't mentioned is the industrial use. Your EOA, your economic opportunities analysis did find that there was a shortage of very large lot industrial. Again, it says that those target industries, I was not aware that there was any discussion of data centers. That's not been a part of my work at all, or brought to me at all. But the EOA itself says that the target are for manufacturing, wood product, and manufacturing ag, I think, are some of the target industries that are identified in the EOA. And some of those would need at least 20 acres. And so we were looking for spots that would be, meet those site characteristics, which is a legal term for this, saying, you know, if the EOA says you have to have certain characteristics for a parcel to meet your needs, you can find that. And we were unable to find that in the first priority land, even combining. We even looked at if there were smaller parcels of the same owner that were adjacent that could be combined to make 20-acre lots for industrial that were, you know, because industrial, it can't be more than, it can't be super slopey land. That's not a technical legal term. That's just me. So we looked at the exception that we couldn't find anything that exists the way it needs to be or could be made to be the way it needs to be. And so we were able to look outside of the first priority land, look at that third and fourth priority land. And what we chose is the area right behind the wastewater treatment plant. It's right on the highways, and it is, or right adjacent to highway for industrial use. And it's also in the flight pattern or the overlay for the little airstrip that's there. So in terms of things that might be used for farming or for future residential, that seemed like land that would be more appropriate for industrial. I don't, you know, anyway, nothing to the treatment plant, but I don't know how many people want to live directly behind it. So that was why we really sort of looked at that, that parcel. And again, it's to bring in 2 parcels, each of which could be 20 acres plus for industrial. Again, the EOA says that's for manufacturing or wood product to target industries. So when we look at each of the sub areas, this is just an example of those 4 location factors, and these are in the reports. The report will show you, here are the wetlands. Not only here are the wetlands, but in the center on the right, you'll see wetlands. Sorry, that's very sensitive. You'll see wetlands plus a really ugly salmon color, and those are your hydric soils. Those are things that are not currently listed as wetlands, but when we do the local wetlands inventory, which is part of the next step of this, they may turn out to be significant wetlands. So hydric soils tends to be predictive of something turning out to be wetlands when it ends up being inventoried. So we look at that. We look at in the top right are the existing road classifications. So again, we're looking at existing roads, really trying to efficiently use those and not necessarily bring in too many parcels that are going to need new road systems, but really just trying to follow infrastructure that already exists. And then in the bottom corner, you'll see the zoning. So you'll see all that yellow is the residential zoning. On that big map, you see the wetlands, but you'll also see the sewer mains, storm mains, water mains, and the boundary of the existing UGB. So again, we're really applying those 4 location factors of being close, being efficient in terms of infrastructure, roads, and all of that, and trying to be very aware of environmental constraints and compatibility with other uses. So this is Ivor Davies Park, and then this is that area right next to it. That would be the trail alignment that's in your parks master plan. And only the top portion is what's included, the northern portion, that 19.2 acres, and I think the 16.9.
I think it goes down to where the 13.2 is.
Okay.
So it's that top.
Yeah, so, and we did, there've been a couple of versions of the UGB recommendation map. Dan was able to put parcel lines on it so you can see the exact parcels instead of just the yellow blob. So when you go back to that, it should be able to show you exactly which parcels we're recommending. They're also numbered in the report in a table so that every single parcel is named by number.
Can I talk about that?
Yeah, go
area
ahead.
Just for a hot second. I just wanted to bring a little bit of awareness to this sub-area 3. This is sort of an extension of those parcels that are owned by, single landowner just south of 5th Street. I think most people know who that is, but so the statewide wetlands inventory showed wetlands over the whole parcel. They've done some delineation work that has been concurred with DSL showing less than that. So I want to have, my intention is to have some conversations with the landowner over the next couple of weeks. This is sort of the portion of the,
I told you it's sensitive.
it is. This is the portion, at least in my mind, that's really in the balance in terms of what we do with it. And it may be that he's got wetlands over one portion of the property and not over another, and we end up sort of working out the industrial and public portions of that in the wash once we're done with it. But I need to have some conversations with it to make sure if there's not wetlands over the property that we're not gonna get some substantial objections over it. Certainly around the creek, those are gonna be wetland portions, and we'll move forward with that.
Right.
So,
Mr. Zinder, Counselor Childress has a question.
yes, please.
Yes, the bottom right-hand square. Am I seeing blue, which is industrial, right in the middle of all of that residential?
That's so the blue piece, and actually some of that is older. Maybe not. Yeah, the blue is what's currently zoned as. That's currently in the city limits zoned as.
That's
industrial.
inside
That's in the city limits
in the city
now.
Yeah.
limits currently.
Okay.
Yeah.
Aaron, let me show you, Leota. The blue is.
Actually, that's like
Um,
Avison's, right?
It's this.
I think it's just northeast of Avison's.
So yeah, it's down south of 5th Street, Avison's property in Molalla. So it's that portion. That's what I'm
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
so
Yeah.
no changes.
It's
there.
not a new thing. Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
And so just to clarify, I would never give legal advice in a state I'm not admitted in. So this is planning advice. But again, I set up this report because you're not required to bring in land outside of housing, right? But you can if you need it, and your parks plan says that this land is to be used as a trail connector. And so because it's in your parks plan, because Ivor Davies Park and the trail are all part of the level of service calculations as part of your parks plan as a goal to maintain a certain level of service, which is a certain number of acres and access per person analysis. Because it's in there, you can bring this in for this purpose, but you're not required to. The only thing you're required under the statute is to make sure that you've adequately allowed space for housing growth. And so again, this is part of this recommendation. If during the course of this, things come to light that make that either in the positive or negative around this trail, that is entirely up to you. It's not part of your housing need. But as we were bringing in the park and seeing this wetlands and starting to plan ahead for what would be the wetlands inventory, a whole concept plan process, which I tried to, wanted to make clear to the public. Just because the UGB expands, there's then a whole concept plan around where do we go first, what are the uses, what are the densities, where would streets go, where would parks go, where would, a whole planning process that will probably take at least a year, which again, we put in for a I helped put in for a TGM grant to help fund that work. All of that would happen before any development, right? So the wetlands inventory and the concept plan would all happen, and then updates to your transportation systems plan.
And many options for, opportunities for public comment within that.
Exactly, with
concept
public
planning period.
meetings and surveys, and every public engagement thing that happened during this process would also happen again at the concept planning portion, and often that involves just giving the public a blank map and stickers and saying, let's sit down and draw and brainstorm how to best use this land. Right now, we're choosing what land is on the table, but how it gets planned or what uses it gets used to, is not set in stone right now. That comes later with the concept plan. So again, I talked about how extending down Molalla Ave. So these larger parcels right along Molalla Ave are being brought in. The ones to the left of Molalla Ave up on your screen. Those are being brought in for, again, residential, to meet that residential need. There are some smaller, you might wonder why, I'm not crazy, we drew this on purpose. There are some smaller commercial to the right of there. We included them with them because they would be served by the same extension down Molalla Ave as this would. And the EOA did say that some small lot commercial would be useful. So again, they're already existing, they're adjacent and would be served by these uses, and so we included them. Again, those small parcels are not meeting your housing needs, so they're not required, but they did sort of make sense when we were looking at this. But everything on the other side of, what is that? Rachel Larkin Road, is not, again, as you get further and further away from Molalla Ave, it gets much more expensive to service. So we really were clustering just those larger parcels closer to Molalla Ave. And this is that sort of centerpiece where you can see there aren't a lot of roads. Some of these parcels, I think we talked about this last time I was here, some of these parcels are landlocked in that they access through, I guess an easement through somebody else's property. It's a little unclear, and you're getting much further away from those nodes where it's most efficient to extend those services. But then you can see 8, this is 8. All of these parcels are touching Ona Way. And the same is essentially true for 9 across the street. And so as you extend services from the existing UGB in the north down Ona Way, it really did come out to be the most efficient, and then only going as far as you're needed to meet those housing needs and no further. And so that was sort of 8 and 9 was where we found, again, the most efficient, cost efficient, and then also in terms of connectivity to the rest of the city and connectivity to services and adjacent uses. I think right adjacent to 9 are some of the there's like a solar panels, I think, out there on some of the larger lots. We didn't find any of these parcels that we're bringing in would be in any way disruptive to existing crops or any adjacent uses. Again, most of these are currently developed as residential, according to the county. So that's what we've done. Again, we've been meeting with our advisory committee. We've had members from people from the county on the advisory committee. We've had people from DSL, soils experts on the advisory committee, ODOT's on the advisory committee. They've all looked at this. They've all vetted this, gave their kind of 2 cents, weighed in on it. Everyone seems very satisfied with where we're going. We had the public meeting, again, with an online component, so people who couldn't make the meeting could send in their responses. We got about 12 responses, none of which really spoke and said, hey, you're not considering this factor about sub-area 4, or you're not considering, most of them were, I'm pro expansion or I'm against expansion, and they were pretty well balanced between the two. So we didn't get a lot of sort of the nitty gritty nuts and bolts that would make us change our location analysis. Because it didn't say, hey, you don't know, but there's wetlands here, or this floods, or, you know, this is actually being used as a farm, and you're gonna take this away. We didn't get any of that kind of data from the survey, but we did get lots of people putting responses that they were either, again, for growth or against expansion, as a concept. Next week, we talk to Planning Commission for our first official hearing. And then we will come back and talk to you guys in a much more sort of formal manner around it for a hearing. And then it goes through the county, and we've been advised, again, kind of being sort of grandfathered in under these old rules, that it's in everyone's best interest if we that they can guarantee that the old rules will apply to us if this process is done by the end of the year. All the lawyers sort of scratch their heads and say, we don't really know what happens if it doesn't and it goes into January. Would we then have to apply new rules to you or not? Because when they made the new rules, they said if you got it done by 2026, you could use the old rules. So, but as of right now, we're on the county's docket, and everything is scheduled to happen relatively seamlessly by the end of the year. So we've set you up for, at least procedurally, for that to go as well as can be expected. And according to these reports, you have all of the legally required analysis for this process. And again, over the 2 years, having put a pause in the process, we've had 2 large public meetings, online components. We did an FAQ. I brought the FAQ again this year on what a UGB is, how the expansion works. We put maps up in the back of the room. And like I said, each of those meetings went well over time. And I think staff did an amazing job of answering questions and passing the microphone around, and everyone really got to sort of say their piece and hopefully get this information and understand the process. So yeah, I'm here for any questions about the reports, anything that I said today, or something you found in the report that you found confusing or you wanted to clarify. Happy to talk UGB.
Let's talk about it.
Council?
With ODOT signing off on it, a while back it occurred to me that they had mentioned that our roundabout would not be able to handle increase in population. Where are they standing with that now?
Well, I believe the roundabout is in the north, right? So the roundabout's not near where we're recommending expansion. So in that way, I think I won't put words in their mouth, but it seemed like, well, you're not going near the roundabout, so we don't have to address that as part of this. I know it is probably a sticky subject in general, because it's new, right? You would, I think we all hope that when stuff goes in, it's ready for, it's not immediately obsolete, but this is not triggering anything about the roundabout. I think that was brought up in the last phase because there was a discussion of if we could meet the legal requirement to say that the exception land was prohibitively expensive to expand to, and we excluded it from our study area. I think the consensus in the public was that the logical place would be to go sort of right north of the roundabout. And so that, I think, started to cause questions and saying, well, then we would have to analyze that. But this doesn't trigger anything about the roundabout because it's down there. And then I will say the concept planning would look at the study area, look at the expansion area to the south and make some suggestions around transportation, and then you would have to do an update to your TSP. But there are some extensions in the exception land that are currently part of your TSP, right? We talked about that at the public meeting. I think there's
the low road extension is partially in the UGB, not, that's true, within the existing UGB.
So part of the analysis also was that there were already extensions in your current TSP that were planned that would make access to this area even easier in the future. So it wouldn't necessarily just be totally new roads, but even stuff that's been planned already but hasn't been built would help ease any traffic concerns, sort of near Ownaway, I think.
And I think to add to that, we're, like what Violet said, we're gonna be looking at, impacts within the concept planning and TSP update process, that follows the urban growth boundary expansion. At which point, we will certainly be looking at, developer impacts to the roundabout among other intersections and looking at proportionate share analysis from there. So the impacts, we want to account for them.
Counselor Childers?
That's kind of puzzling to me, because if we're talking about putting residential space on the south side of town and the roundabout on 213 is north, we already know that probably 70% of the residents of that are gonna go north to go to work. And so it's going to affect the roundabout, so I'm a little
Right, it's not,
puzzled.
right, thank you for clarifying for me, or helping me clarify. It's not physically on the roundabout. I think if we
No.
were bringing in, land surrounding it, immediately, I think it would be a bigger question, but because it's further away, I think any
Okay.
growth, I think any residential growth,
It's gonna affect.
the
It's going to
commuting
affect
patterns from, you know, again, I visit Molalla a lot. I don't live here. I don't commute from here. You guys know, right? And the public knows how these streets get used and when they get trafficky. And from everything I'm hearing is, you know, those commuting patterns, people commute north. So again, any sort of growth is going to add. So you're absolutely right. There is an impact of any growth, but I don't know that. I think where this is located is probably some of the least impactful of that, than any of the other sub areas around, because if it was like right physically touching onto the roundabout, I think it would be a bigger impact.
I see,
the-
all right, thank you.
The issue previously was, if you remember, there was a chunk of commercial land that was on the west side of the roundabout. As you can tell, it's not in this proposal
Right,
anymore,
right.
and that's what was throwing them off.
Okay,
So
Yeah.
all right,
Yeah, 'cause
and
not the use, not
Right.
the use of the roundabout, but the
It-
proximity
it's
to
the
the
proximity.
roundabout.
Right, and the
And
difference
commercial
being,
uses have a different
yeah,
Yeah.
impact on roads, and so
Okay.
it was a combination of changing the uses around the roundabout, and if any of the expansion was happening right in the vicinity of the roundabout, it would make it a more immediate issue. But you're making an absolutely good point, which is any growth is going, and if that roundabout's right in your commuting path, then, you know, it will have to be studied at some point.
Okay.
but one of the pieces of feedback we got back from ODOT is, you know, when you have commercial's a draw, so you put a new, you know, grocery center in on the southwest corner of 213, and that's gonna be a huge draw at one time of people going to that places, whereas residential sort of send 10 people over here, send 10 people up that way, send
Yeah.
people around and
Yeah.
about, you know, going different directions, and so it's a little more spaced out, and especially with so many people working from home, ODOT's interpretation is that the impact of residential is much less concerning to them, but it's still something we're gonna wanna account for in our TSP updates, and certainly in proportionate share analysis, when we have to update it, so we're not sort of caught with the whole bill.
Yeah, but you guys are definitely targeting in on exactly what your community cared about, because what we heard a lot about was traffic. And it was like growth and traffic, and, you know, we just tried to reiterate to them that we're not really allowed to put a moratorium on growth. We can't tell people they can't move here, we can't tell people they can't grow their families or, you know, buy their first home in Molalla. And so really, what we're looking at is trying to manage that growth, get ahead of it, and plan accordingly in a way that's smart and thoughtful, and puts all this stuff into place and really weighs all of it, instead of just sort of like having it happen sort of ad hoc and just on its own. And so this is really an opportunity to say, let's put some thought, let's weigh these preferences over areas, and start to put some plans in place to make sure that if growth does happen in the way that they're predicting it will, that it happens thoughtfully and efficiently and not sort of sprawl and with a kind of jumble of uses because we didn't put a plan in place. So that's what we kept trying to just remind people is, unfortunately we don't get to vote on the size of our population, right? We just get to plan for it or manage it. And that's just what we're trying to do. But everybody talked about traffic, and that was the only reason it came up in my mind was that there was discussion about your existing TSP and what roads and what extensions of roads were already being planned, and that they would help alleviate some of the new traffic that would go into this area anyway. So.
Violet, first, Violet and staff, I'd like to thank you guys. You've done an incredible job. This has been a very, very long project since before I started here. And it's taken up almost my whole time here. There's a lot of misinformation going around. And some of the points that are being made, you've kind of touched on tonight. But I wanted to ask some kind of point blank questions so it goes onto the record and everybody can hear it. First off, this process has to be done, correct?
Yes.
Second off, if we don't do it, city gets penalized some way or another by the state. Third, if we don't get it done in this timely manner, process starts over, rules change, everything, we could end up taking what I see as a minimum of what the city actually needs right now, and it could end up being more.
Yeah, it could be. I will share, as a consultant who's on the bench for DLCD that gets assigned when these grants happen, I can tell you I'm currently doing 10 HCAs, housing capacity analysis, which is what the HNA is called now under the new owner rules. Cities are given an allocation. You're given that allocation by income bracket. And there's a whole host of new rules around what that entails. Those grants are $115,000 and 18 months of work to get to an HCA before you even do a new HPS, which we went through together last year, and then do a whole other process on UGB. So again, there is housing expansion is required. It's the only one that's absolutely required under the law. And personally, maybe I'm just idealistic or something, but not only would you be penalized, but if the growth happens and you haven't planned for it, I come from the state of Louisiana. I love things about my state, but a lot of things about their planning doesn't make sense. And you get a lot of sprawl, and you get a lot of things that just are not compatible, that's not efficient, that don't work. And one of the things I love about Oregon and why I moved here as an adult and raised my daughter here is because we try to get ahead of these things and we try to make a plan. And so to me, you would get penalized, but you would also fail to plan for the growth that was predicted. So again, I think I think that you guys, and I'll applaud you right back, because I think that you guys have thought very thoroughly about all of this at every step. I think pausing to do the cost estimates, as Dan said, is not something that's done every time. That is very thoughtful, and I think that this process has done, has really honored the community and the community's needs, and show that you really care about what's happening. So I appreciate being part of it.
Perfect, thank you. Anybody else? Ms. Zinder, final thoughts?
Leave it in your all capable hands from here.
All
We'll
right.
be back in September.
Anything else, Violet?
No, that's it.
Matt?
No, sir, thank you.
All right. Well, if there's nothing else, I will adjourn this meeting at 5:44. Good evening. This is a regular meeting of the Molalla City Council for August 26, 2026. Please join me in the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, I'd like to remind all participants, including staff, elected officials, and members of the public, that Robert's Rules of Order will be enforced in this meeting. We welcome your opinions and look forward to your polite participation. Audience members, we request that you silence your cell phones and not conduct side conversations during the meeting. Thank you. We'll do roll call, beginning with Councilor Bartholomew.
Councilor Bartholomew present.
Council President Vermillion present?
Mayor Kaiser present.
Counselor Childress present.
Counselor Schenkel present?
Councilor Gilmer present.
Associate Planner Clarissa Davis, present. Violet Brown, 3J Consulting, present.
Planning Manager Dan Zender, present.
Assistant City Manager Matt Corthell, present.
City Recorder Christy Teets, present.
Dan Huff, City Manager present.
All right. Staff has informed me that,
Counselor Basinius present via Zoom.
oh, sorry, Councilor Basinius. Thank you.
It's all right.
Staff has informed me that item 8A, MMC 10.41.050, prohibited parking fines and bail, has been removed from the agenda and will be presented at a future meeting. Does council accept this agenda as an amended? All right.
Yes.
Up next will be the consent agenda consisting of work session meeting minutes, August 12th, 2026, City Council meeting minutes, August 12th, 2026. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
I make a motion, we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Is there any discussion? All right, Christie, will you call the roll?
For this evening, I'm going to call Councilor Bicenius first, since we have him on Zoom. Councilor Bicenius.
Aye.
Councilor Gilmer.
Aye.
Councilor Schenkel.
Aye.
Councilor Childress.
Aye.
Council President Vermillion.
Aye.
Councilor Bartholomew.
Aye.
Mayor Kaiser.
Aye.
Thank you. Vote passes 7-0.
All right, up next will be public comment. Citizens are allowed for up to 3 minutes to present information relevant to the city but not listed as an item on the agenda. Prior to speaking, citizens shall complete a comment form and deliver it to the city recorder. The city council does not generally engage in dialogue with those making comments, but may refer the issue to the city manager. Complaints should be first addressed at the department level prior to addressing the city council. And for public comment, it looks like I have Mr. Brian Rierick. Can you state your name and city you reside in, please?
Hello, yeah, my name is Brian Rierick. I live off of Vaughn Road. I live in Clackamas County, just outside your city limits. I just wanted to come in and say there are lots of people that are for the effort that you guys are trying to get done with the UGB growth and their overall growth of the city. I think that bringing in the possibility of a truck route in and out of the center of town both accommodates a lot of things. I've seen people come in here complaining about with trucks keeping them up late at night and other problems with the current way that the traffic flows to the city of town. And connecting all the parts together is just gonna help connect the city itself together and make everybody healthier and more active in our everyday city lives. I really don't see anything bad that you guys have done as far as I'm concerned. And have looked at it, in my opinion, and I've worked with a lot of municipalities before, in a very conservative and open way. And backtracked many times to try to appease people, but in some cases you can't appease everybody. I think there's a lot more of us that are for what you guys are doing, but they don't really want to be outed in the situation and have all the problems on social media and with their businesses and other things like that. So I figured I'd come up and kind of give y'all a pat on the back for my opinion. You guys are doing an excellent job.
Thank you,
I think
sir.
there's a lot of us that agree with you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Up next will be Paige Lance and Jessica Sandberg.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, just will you both state your name and city you reside in, and because there's two of you, you will have 5 minutes.
Great. My name is Paige Lance, spelled Lantz, and I live in Molalla off of Wilhoit Road.
I'm Jessica Sandberg. I live on Warwick Road in Molalla.
All right?
So I'll speak for about 3 minutes, and I'm speaking kind of on behalf of us. We're neighbors. So I live on Wilhoit, just outside of town, right after Wilhoit and Sawtell split. So Warwick Road and Molalla Ave, I'm just right up from there. Jessica's property is on Warwick. My property backs up to hers. So the urban growth boundary thing is a hot topic for both of us, as well as many citizens, obviously. I've followed the UGB process for the last couple of years with Violet and Dan, communicating closely, and am operating under the assumption that the UGB will come south towards Warwick and on a way not north, as many of us were hoping. I know that by law, the UGB process cannot be influenced by citizen emotions or sentiment about family land, but as humans, I want to share that my Lance family has owned our 200 acres for 5 generations, and there are 6 Lance families on the compound, we call it, so to speak. So any changes are dear to our heart, and the surrounding areas are very special to us. I'm here with my friend Jessica, as I explained, who owns property on Warwick, but she is across from where the UGB will be. So she will not be included in the UGB, she's right across. Like many Mollallans, we're not thrilled about increasing population density in this rural town, and ask as this process progresses and development proposals come to you, that you balance the needs of the longstanding citizens to protect ranching and farming with the desires of developers and increasing tax revenue. Increasing tax revenue is always needed, but I hope it is not the only driving force as decisions are being made. There are, of course, many concerned citizens, friends, and neighbors who are aware of a development plan being proposed on the corner of Molalla Ave and Warwick. We've all seen this little PDF JPEG map floating around that the developer gave to a neighbor. It's now been on social media. It's getting texted a bunch of people. As you head into the next phase of planning for the proposed UGB expansion, Jessica and I would like to raise awareness about some traffic concerns. I know that once the UGB goes, this developer looks like he is ripped and ready to go. I mean, he's already out there doing logging and all that. You know what's happening. And so it feels like this process will happen quickly. The transportation concerns, we drive there every day, obviously. We have 5 of them. One, there's very poor visibility turning in and out of Warwick Avenue. So we recommend there would need to be some sort of stop sign, 4-way stop, or stop light. It's already very dangerous coming in and out of there, and it's a low density area right now, so please do consider that. Second, there would be congestion concerns during peak hours coming in and out of Warwick. So I don't know if there's maybe a second entrance from the development being considered down on Molalla Forest Road or something, but it feels like if you're gonna put 7 units an acre or more on that 20 acres or whatever it is, that's a lot of people coming in and out off of Little Warwick and then onto Molalla Ave. So maybe a second entrance. I don't know what the developer is proposing. Pedestrians, you are all probably aware there are already pedestrians walking between Warwick down to the library, back and forth out of town. They're standing in ditches as log trucks go by. There's drunk people that have gotten hit coming home from the bars. I mean, it's already in a bad state and probably needs sidewalks, but if this development goes forward and it is, on the higher density side, we are both highly recommending that sidewalks go in between Warwick Ave and town on both sides. And then Jessica has brought up concerns about the widening of Warwick Road. Right now it's a very small road, it's potholes, and especially with the new log trucks coming in and out of the developer it's crumbling on the sides, and so 2 cars cannot pass on that road without one person kind of pulling over. So obviously the hope would be that the road gets wider and that sidewalks would get put in there. Zoning,
So the developer's proposal map that's been floating around appears to be higher density than the R2 low to medium density zoning. We are urging you to consider to keep the zoning to as low density as possible to protect the rural way of life and also not impact negatively the compatibility of ranching and farming, which is what we do on our properties, right next to a high density area. It's not good for either of those things to be right next to each other. So please keep the density as low as possible in the zoning for once you get to that planning phase. There's also a concern that the developer, if they get the high zoning that they want, is there really a demand for that type of zoning? I heard mixed use was gonna go in there. Retail in that area doesn't make sense. So please consider those things as you're speaking with the developer. I know he's socializing the plan with you guys. And lastly, we ask that the feedback process for the UGB expansion, I know we have until about September 23rd. It feels like it's a really tight timeline, and I understand why we're doing that because of the December and we don't want the new rules. The last round of feedback, I know that it maybe internally at the city felt like it was widely marketed. I'm gonna tell you as someone who has been very involved in this process, it did not feel like it was widely marketed at all. And there were many citizens that felt like, oh, I wish I had known that I would have been able to give feedback. So I don't know how to do that, but the request is please market that feedback time period. It is short, and market it as best you can, not only online, but to also to older people that are not online that live outside of city limits. I mean, if you want to be inclusive, you really have to make it fair and give everyone in the city and outside of city limits a chance. And it's what, a few weeks left.
Would there be a newsletter, a mail out?
Anything. I mean, we need more people engaged.
You're out of time now.
Okay, that's it. That was my last.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, up next, Miss Irene, and I am not gonna hash your last name.
It's Swachka.
Okay, come on up, state your
wow.
name and city you reside in, please.
Do I speak over here, or this is fine?
What was that?
Okay.
I need just a moment, please. All right.
All right, state your name and city you reside in, please.
My name is Irene Schwachka, and I grew up in Molalla, but I'm in Gresham now, and this is my dad.
Yeah, good evening, ladies and gents. My name is Oleg Schwachka, and I live in this small, beautiful city for 20 years.
So Molalla. So I just wanted to kind of share some positive sentiment. So I grew up on South Onaway. My parents still live there with my younger sister. And to us, it makes a lot of sense that Section 8 is in the urban growth boundary because of its proximity to the main roads, schools, both of the main grocery stores we have here. So I feel like those are things that citizens will need, and anyone coming into the city, that's going to be important for growth. And the way we see it is that growth is going to happen regardless, so it makes sense to plan for it carefully, as you guys have done, and include the Section 8, continue that process, instead of waiting until like housing and infrastructure needs get even greater. We've also spoken to some of our neighbors because we wanted just to see how the community was feeling. All of our neighbors are on the same page that we've spoken to. They're all for this process, and so yeah, we just kind of wanted to share our feedback and say that we're excited for this expansion process.
Happy.
Yeah, to continue, because the way we see it, it's going to happen regardless, and it makes sense because of the proximity to the roads. You guys have discussed the schools, etc. So that's kind of it. Dad, do you have anything?
Yeah, just want to say a few words. I want to appreciate all work you done, guys, at Molalla City. So all that research, due diligence you did, researching and finding out if it's gonna work or not, and really happy that we got included, and we can live, and grow our families here in Molalla.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yep,
That's all.
that's pretty much it.
All right,
Thank
thank
you.
you very
Thank you.
much for
Thank you.
coming in.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, guys.
All right, up next, we will have a public hearing. This item requires a public hearing. I am opening up the public hearing for ordinance number 2026-04, changing the comprehensive plan zoning map and zoning map for one publicly owned property located in the city limits to the public and semi-public zone at 6:15. The purpose of this hearing is to hear a staff report and listen to public testimony. Does any council member wish to acknowledge actual or potential conflicts of interest? All right, Ms.
Counselor Bicenius, any conflict of interest to report?
I do not. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Davis, we're ready for your report.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, City Council and Mayor. Tonight, I will be presenting on a zone change for a publicly owned property from light industrial to public and semi-public. The city recently acquired this property. It's highlighted there on that image. It's below Tractor Supply and above Safeway, abutting Oregon 213. It's currently zoned light industrial, and as we've recently acquired it, we're looking to rezone it to public and semi-public, as we do with all of city-owned lands. Additionally, this property, it's shaped like that because it follows the contour of Bear Creek, so that stream runs right through there. As with any time we conduct a zone change, staff has evaluated this application and this process against our statewide planning goals, against the public interest, and against transportation rule compliance, and we've found it to align with all of these goals. Additionally, we did send this project out for comment to ODOT. Oregon 213 is under their jurisdiction, and this property abuts that, and we received no comment from them. That makes sense to us because the zone change from that light industrial land to public and semi-public has a negligible impact on trips. It's either pretty much the same or it might even decrease the amount of trips. The site is featured in the adopted 2025 Parks, Recreation, and Trails System Plan, and the eventual plan with the property is to develop it to have a trail running along Bear Creek. And so rezoning this piece of property will help prepare it for that eventual development. There are 4 main reasons for us to rezone. First, it's going to help us more accurately reflect what the property is used for, and it will remove the site from the city's industrial land calculations. That helps staff when we're looking to evaluate the employment lands in the city to accurately understand what the city has within the zones. It also will potentially provide a stronger recreational immunity legal argument if we ever needed to rely on that. And then finally, it would help streamline the development process for the site. This item was brought to Planning Commission on July 1st, and Planning Commission recommended that Council adopt this ordinance, and staff concur. At this point in time, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Scorthel, would you ask them to keep their conversation down? I appreciate it, sir. Anybody have any questions for Ms. Davis? All right. Public comment for this item is now open. Is there anyone that would like to speak in favor or opposition? All right. I will close this public hearing at 6:17. Up next, ordinances and resolutions. Having held the public hearing for this ordinance, we are ready to consider a motion for adoption. Does staff have anything else they'd like to add? Do you have
Sorry.
anything?
No, thank you, Mayor.
All righty. May I have a motion to hold the first reading of ordinance number 2026-04, changing the comprehensive plan, zoning map, and zoning map for one public-owned property located in the city limits to the public and semi-public zone by title only?
I move to adopt ordinance number 2026-04, changing the comprehensive plan zoning map and zoning map for one publicly owned property located in city limits to the public and semi-public zone.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All right, Christie, will you call the roll?
Mayor, the motion was to adopt, and unfortunately, we need to conduct the first reading first. I'm sorry.
Councilor Childress, could you change from adopt to first reading?
I have that, right here.
By title only is what you want?
By
You
first
move
reading.
to-
First reading.
I move to hold a first reading on ordinance number 2026-04, changing the comprehensive plan zoning map and zoning map for one publicly owned property located in city limits to the public and semi-public zone.
Perfect, thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved in second. Is there any discussion? All right, Christie, will you call the vote?
Certainly. Counselor Bycinius.
Aye.
Counselor Gilmer.
Aye.
Counselor Schenkel.
Aye.
Counselor Childress.
Aye.
Council President Vermillion.
Aye.
Counselor Bartholomew.
Aye.
Mayor Kaiser.
Aye.
Thank you. Vote passes 7-0.
Is there a motion to hold the second reading and adoption of ordinance number 2026-04, changing the comprehensive plan zoning map and zoning map for one publicly owned property located in city limits to the public and semi-public zone by title only?
Just a moment. Trying to get the language.
I move to hold a second reading and adopt ordinance number 2026-04, changing the comprehensive plan zoning map and zoning map for one publicly owned property located in city limits to the public and semi-public zone by title only.
Second.
Moved in second. Any discussion? Christie, will you call the vote?
Certainly. Counselor Bycinius.
Aye.
Counselor Gilmer.
Aye.
Counselor Schenkel.
Aye.
Counselor Childress.
Aye.
Council President Vermillion.
Aye.
Counselor Bartholomew.
Aye.
Mayor Kaiser.
Aye.
Thank you. Vote passes 7-0.
All right, up next, general business, day of the week for city council, and I am gonna pass this to Councilor Basinius, because he asked to have this put on the agenda.
Hello. I appreciate you putting this on the agenda for tonight, Mayor. I'd like to propose that we look at potentially changing the date of city council. Having it in the middle of the week is really challenging for me, especially having a travel schedule. It doesn't allow me to attend in person, which I would much prefer to do. So I wanted to put it up for discussion and see if anybody else had thoughts on if that could be a feasible change.
Okay. Questions, comments? Before I have questions and comments, but I'll let everybody else go first.
Well, what day of the week did he want?
Monday.
Monday? Go for it.
Okay, I currently have an obligation on the second Monday of every month.
Okay.
So that would present, present a challenge for me. I'm not unsympathetic to the need, certainly Councilor Bycinius, but also if the need exists now, but it could be that a year from now, that need changes, and then to try to move it again could be very challenging for the staff. I know that their work operates around getting to us on the second Wednesday, and it would be a big change up.
My only issue, well, right now, I take a half day off for council meetings, and I'm scheduled out until the end of the year. I know city staff plans their vacations, which I'm sure they're planned out through the end of the year, so I'm not probably gonna be in favor of it, but if there's a consensus here, we can make it move forward.
I can't really raise my hand.
Oh,
Oh, sorry.
go ahead.
I was just going to say, I mean, even if we were to look at doing that for the 2027 calendar year, where it may be more feasible for the people and allow time for transition, would be another thought.
Okay. Councilor Bartholomew.
Well, as Counselor Childress was saying, you know, the need could change in November. And for me, I come back from a 3-day weekend and, you know, to work on a Monday and then having council meetings on Monday, it's kind of a blow in the, you know, it was pretty rough on me, and that's where I stand on it.
Okay. Council Vermillion?
I'm just curious, how much work would it be for staff to even change it from one day to the other? Where I'm thinking there's probably quite a bit with planning and.
That's because, I mean, we're set up for the second and fourth Wednesday. That's kind of how city recorder operates. It's how everybody on staff operates. They just know that. So it's in a rhythm. The only other thing is, just like the mayor said, I mean, we plan our personal lives as well around these dates. But that doesn't mean that you can't at some point make a change. I mean, we do a lot of things like that, but it would be a burden for us to do that. And we're always home for Monday Night Football.
Perfect.
Whoa.
Sorry,
Dan might
Counselor
resign.
Bisidius.
So, if anybody is interested in this moving forward, please raise your hand. Which, Counselor Vicinius, I know you're raising your hand. All right. Unfortunately, Counselor, it's not in right now. Maybe the end of the year, we can discuss it again.
No problem.
All right, thank you. All right, up next, staff communication, which we lost we lost the whole table.
They were gonna get lots of compliments.
I know.
Save money.
There you go.
Save them.
Christy, we'll start with you.
I thank you, Mayor. I don't have any update.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
What do you got for us tonight?
So, couple quick project updates, just obviously the wastewater treatment plant continues to move along. As you guys have seen, sludge removal is going nonstop, Monday through Saturday. And we've got that land application approved, through DEQ that you guys voted on. And so they're able to, utilize that for grass seed farming, and so that's actually saving the city a little bit more money. And so that's moving along really well. It's kind of an impressive operation if you haven't seen it. It's kind of amazing to me. But that's going along well. The water intake project continues to advance on time, and really possibly even under budget, but we don't know yet. We're a little bit preliminary, so I'm going to say on budget. But we did get or applied for a waiver with EPA for our community project funding that would waive the city's match requirement. So that could be a big savings because there's likely enough in those funding resources now to foot the bill and without the city's match. So that could be another area to save some costs, and then, like I said, that continues to advance on time and on budget. And then I wanted to just share a story about another success of one of our staff today that kind of highlights the cooperation and partnership that your staff shows towards the community and towards our franchisees and that sort of thing as far as our franchise utilities. As you guys probably know from hearing this stuff over and over the years, when there's a private project that happens and there's some frontage improvements that need to happen, it's the financial burden of the developer to move any utilities that might have to be moved and do that sort of thing. And so the school district is developing the middle school right now, and they came to us. I think I'm getting to the mic now. They came to the city and asked for our help and support with Astound. And I want to say first that Astound was very, very gracious and great to work with, and nothing that they were saying was off point. in that there was about a $78,000 bill that was gonna be required to move some of the utilities to the east side of the road. City staff met with them, discussed those costs, and advised them that we would grant them a waiver to be able to move some of their equipment to different but safe locations, and asked them to recalculate those costs to try and reduce some of the costs on the community for the development project. Astound came back and not only reduced those costs through that variance, so Sam Miller really headed that up as far as being able to grant them a variance that was still safe, but then volunteered to absorb the remaining costs. So the $78,000 bill that was going to be, I think was a little bit unexpected for the school district, although it is standard that this is the operation, went away. And so we just got news of that today, and I just thought it was a really good example of how our staff works with our franchisees, works with our developers, and is always looking for different ways to help, save people money and cost to do things, but at the same time, making sure that the city and the community is getting all the things that they deserve in terms of infrastructure. So I thought that was a good story to share with you guys today. And that's all I've got.
So the city helped save the school district $78,000 on their
That's right.
project?
The city and Astound. Astound stepped up and said, we're gonna absorb the remaining costs for that, so.
Excellent. That's great news.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Anything else?
No, sir, thank you.
All right, Mr. Huff?
Just a couple of things. I will leave any comments about Celebrate Molalla to Counselor Childress and Counselor Schenkel. I don't want to take your fire away.
Feel free to share.
It was a good day. It was a good day.
Good day.
It was a good day. You guys can carry the flag on that one. One of the things I'll bring up is we are in a state of transition at City Hall. So if you come in there, Councilor Childress was in there today. She probably saw some interesting things going on, but we're in the process of relocating some things for the eventual visit by the Community Development Department back at City Hall. So.
It's not a visit.
Huh?
It's not a visit.
No, a permanent visit. So anyway, that's been going on, and the only other thing I wanted to bring up, I was gonna compliment Mac's staff over there, but they're not there for me to compliment, but I'll say it anyway, is that we work really hard to find good people, and that crew over there was some of those folks that we work hard to find, and they work hard for this community and the city is the community, so I wanted to give them that compliment. Just one complaint is that when those folks come in here, I think about land use stuff a lot, and it kind of annoys me a little bit. So anyway, I wanted to give them a compliment, and also want to give you all a compliment. There's a lot of things going on in our state right now, if you're really paying attention to some of the issues that are happening in some other cities, and I appreciate you all and the way you hold yourself at public meetings, and makes our job function much better.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, council communication, we'll start with Councilor Basinius.
My only thoughts are going to be on this weekend's event, so I will defer.
Okay.
I couldn't hear him. He deferred.
He's deferring too.
Okay,
Oh.
all right. Councilor Bartholomew.
I have nothing to report this evening, Mayor Kaiser.
All right, Councilor Gilmer.
I just want to reiterate, school's back in, so kids are going to be back in school. They're going to be on the streets waiting for the buses to come get them, and I did enjoy my time at Celebrate Mall. It was a fun event.
Good.
All right, thank you, sir. Who would like to go first, ladies?
Go for it.
Go for it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, Celebrate Molalla just turned out so great Saturday. We moved our vendors completely into the park, pretty much, everybody was in the shade. And we had literally thousands of people were there. It was a crowded, packed out event. There was always a line at the food carts and the drink carts, and kids were making new things and racing cars. The Cub Scouts had a little car track raceway set up. It was really a good day. The weather was perfect. The wind did come up. We will stake down tents in the future, by the way. But I want to say, you know, we started Celebrate Molalla in 2018, and we only missed 1 year, and that was because everything was shut down. And it's just grown every year. It's gotten better. We're almost a well-oiled machine. I have a team of 6. There's a team of 6 of us, and everybody knows what they're doing, and it just gets done. And I'm so thankful for the team. We are volunteers. The rest of the people on the team are volunteers. We need more volunteers. I want to thank those of you from the council who could come out and help set up Saturday morning. That's always a big job.
And staff.
Pardon me?
And staff.
And staff, well, yeah, staff for sure. But we do need more volunteers, and some of us, our team is going to be changing. We need some fresh blood in, younger people and more people. So if you think about something that you can do to work with the city and a fun project, Celebrate Molalla is one of those. So reach out to us and we can always use you. And yes, the staff was fantastic that day. The city is the main sponsor for this event. We do have some financial sponsors also that I would like to mention. That's Molalla Communication and Sani Can, which was Clink Scales, formerly Clink Scales. They're our diamond sponsors. And then we have B&B Leasing. We get trash cans usually. They may come late like they did Saturday, but we get them. Willamette Valley Melons. And it's just, like I said, we had a good time. Is there anything you want to add to that?
No, I would just, again, our city works department, you guys, you know, you see them, well, one's sitting here, but we have.
But he wasn't there.
He's not, no, he's not. But we have a fabulous group of people who work for the city and live in this community, and they are so excited to help us every year load up our tables and our tents that are heavier than whatever and put them in the thing, and we haul it down there and they unload it for us, and then I take it back and they load it up and put it away, and they are just a fantastic group of people, and we could not do this without them. Because I can't lift those tents. The tables maybe, but not those tents. So I'm so grateful to them, and they're happy to do it. You know, they're not grousing. It's not in their job description, I'm sure. So anyway, I really appreciate them all. Thank you.
Yes. And I would like to comment about the UGB presentation this evening. We have worked on UGB for a long, long time, as was mentioned earlier tonight. And it is a complex issue. I try reading things and I'm just like, whoa, too many statistics, too many numbers. It's really, really complex. But we've garnered a lot of it. But tonight's presentation took a little bit different tone, and it was very clear. It was almost like in layman's terms, if you will, clear, concise, and I got a lot of information tonight. So so they did do a good job, and I'm sorry that they left so they couldn't hear that, but I think I don't have anything else to add. That's it?
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Council President Vermillion.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just piggybacking on Councilor Gilmer, first day of school is this coming Monday, August 31st. So those kids are going to be running around first thing in the morning, waiting for their bus, excited to go to school. They just can't wait to get there, I'm sure. And then they're going to be sad when they get home. So anyway, also, Big Meadow, that community garage sale is going to happen in September, the last weekend in September. September 25th through the 27th. And one more note about Big Meadow. Tomorrow morning, there's going to be some water work done on Meadowlawn Place. Tomorrow is garbage day. The garbage trucks are going to be in your community early. So get your cans out either tonight or when I get up in the morning about 4 o'clock. So outside of that, I think, thank you for a great Celebrate Molalla. The weather was perfect. It just turned out really good. And having everything underneath the trees, that was very nice. So it was a good time, and that's all I got.
All right, thank you. I'll reiterate what everybody said. Celebrate Molalla went off without a hitch. Really appreciated you ladies on all your effort and your volunteers and your new scones. Those were very good. They weren't the bacon jalapeno cheese, but they were good. Couple things of new business. First off, I received a letter from the mayor of Oregon City, and Oregon City's doing a push. They want to do a ban on flavored tobacco, and they're asking for cities to work with this ban and possibly send a letter to county commissioners. Personally, I think it's above our level. I think the state needs to do something about that, because even if our entire county does something, someone can go right over to the next county, get their products. I've also seen California did a complete ban in their state. It became a black market item. People were still getting it shipped into them. So I'd like, if council would give me the permission to acknowledge the mayor and let her know that we believe it needs to be handled at a state issue, that we're not going to tackle that, if council's good with that. The other topic I have was, we've all seen the comments on data centers. I would like council's permission to, and I came to you guys gently on this, I could have just put it on the agenda, but council's blessing to put it on the agenda to talk about a moratorium in our city. It's not to say it's good or bad, but if we get a moratorium on it, before the state does anything, hopefully it puts the proverbial turd in our pocket, whatever we want to do. If we don't want to do anything, we keep the moratorium. If the council decides later to do something, they have the option. But my biggest fear is some very highly paid lobbyists are going to get to our state legislature and they're going to start making laws. And I'd rather have some sort of defense here so we can make a strategic movement rather than what the state expects us to do. So would council be okay with me putting that on the agenda for further discussion? Mr. Huff's getting information. The county's actually county, I believe, approved a moratorium for outside of our city limits.
Yeah, they haven't finalized that yet.
They haven't finalized?
No.
Okay.
But I have I got all the information.
So Mr. Huff has all the information. Whenever our city recorder could get it on the agenda with that information, bring it to all of us and we can decide and discuss if council's good with that.
I'm good with that discussion.
Okay.
Good with the discussion.
When you're able to get it on the agenda, I know you're busy.
I can respond now. The very soonest would be mid to late October.
Okay,
So,
that works.
Yeah.
That works. Otherwise, with that, if there isn't anything else for the good of the order, I will adjourn this meeting at 6:43. And we're gonna take a 10-minute recess and we'll come back as MURA.
Yep.
Good evening, this is the Molalla Urban Renewal Agency meeting for Wednesday, August 26, 2026. Flag salute was conducted during regular city council meeting. We'll begin with roll call, beginning with agency member Bartholomew.
Agency member Bartholomew present.
Agency member Vermillion present.
Chair Kaiser present.
Agency member Childress present.
Agency member Schenkel present.
Agency member Gilmer present.
Agency member Bicenius is with us via Zoom this evening. City Recorder Christy Teets present.
And I am Agency Director Dan Huff.
All right. Do agency members or staff have any changes to the agenda tonight? All right. We will have a discussion on Molalla Urban Renewal consent agenda consisting of Molalla Urban Renewal Agency meeting minutes for June 24th, 2026. Is there a motion to approve or amend the consent agenda?
I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Is there any discussion? Christie, will you call the vote?
Member Bicenius.
Aye.
Member Gilmer.
Aye.
Member Schenkel.
Aye.
Member Childress.
Aye.
Member Vermillion.
Aye.
Member Bartholomew.
Aye.
Chair Kaiser.
Aye.
Thank you. Vote passes 7-0.
All right. General business, MURA Fire District IGA payout. Agency Director Huff, can we have your staff report, please?
Thank you. If you turn to page 4 in your MURA packet, and I should also tell you that Chief Hamilton is in the back, midway back. We've had more fire people here at our meetings over the last few months, and it's been nice. So if you go to page 4, I'm not gonna read everything in the memo I wrote you, but basically this is a question for you all to provide me with direction that yes, you want to pursue this, or no, you don't want to. The city and the fire district signed a IGA back in 2009, which we have participated in since then. And what it is annually we are, the IGA requires us to make the fire district whole with their foregone tax dollars that go to the district, go to the urban renewal district. So we've kept up on that since that time. The problem we run into is the district is not always doing a project that complies with the rules of the urban renewal district plan, or it's at such a low number, the money we provide to them, that it's not a big help for them. This year, the fire district is undertaking a project. They're building a training center. It's actually in the urban renewal plan. And we provided them with about 2 years or 3 years worth of kind of built up revenue, but it's only, what was it? I can't even remember the number. Yeah. So it's not a lot for when you're, as you know, when you're building a public project, they're not cheap. Okay. And I'm sure it's helpful. So anyway, I began talking to the fire district about, hey, what would you say if we were able to pay you like what we think we're gonna owe you from today to the end of the life of the district? That'll give them a much bigger chunk of money. It will actually be an actual benefit to the current project they have. Maybe they can do more than with the amount they have now. And so what I received back from the fire district is, yeah, they're interested in looking at. I did ask for a legal opinion from our city attorney, and the information that came back was, yes, you can do that. It will require us to do a new IGA with the district that lays this all out. And then we'll provide them with, that'll come back to you all. You all have to approve the IGA. So this is not the last time this will be in front of you. There will be some negotiation with the district. The other thing I do want to tell you is, and then all the projections that we've made are further down. The IGA is in the packet, also the projections are in the packet. We are taking a bit of a risk in those projections, okay? And what that means, what I need to say to you all is the number that's there for the full amount is a projection. But as you know, the market that we're in fluctuates a little bit. So you may want to think about whether or not, if we're going to give you the whole amount today, maybe it's at a lower number. When we work with ODOT and we take the full amount out of our fund exchange for infrastructure projects, for road projects, we take about 90 cents on the dollar. It gets ODOT out of it, and I'm not saying that's what we do here. I just want to put that out there that we are taking a bit of a risk. But the whole point is, undertaking this process will benefit them to actually provide the funding to a current project that absolutely unequivocally meets the rules of the urban renewal plan and meets the letter of the law in the IGA, and they can provide this funding to that project. Because what we don't know is, will they have another one? They may, but they may not. So anyway, I just need direction for you. Yes, please go forward. The other question I think you will probably ask me is, do we have the funding available to do this? And the answer is yes. Okay. We also, well, that's for the next one. I don't want to go forward too quick. So if you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them.
Council?
So you're talking about paying them on projected
Yes.
income
Yes.
until the district expires, which is 2034,
Yeah. If you look at
8 years down the road.
Yeah, if you look at page,
But this
let
is
me get down
tax.
to it.
Revenue, right?
It's past the IGA. And if you look at the column on the right,
Increase over prior year, or
Yeah.
the actual projection, right?
yeah, if you look at the numbers we have there in, what is that color? Whatever that color is.
Ours aren't covered.
Those are the projections because
Oh, okay,
the
so I
district
see where
gains,
we are.
the district gains value. And if you look at it, like compared to the column on the left, those were original projections. And then the column in the middle is, after we reset those projections. Some of you may remember when the urban renewal district was first created, the projections were way too high. And the district didn't generate any funding. And so we reset the projections to the ones in the middle. And then the projections on the right are actual projections. Okay, so we've been able to see what the district has done since about 2015 or 16 is when things actually started to happen in the district and we started generating funds. So from 25, that's 63, 66, 68 is the actual number of generation, and then we just used a 9% increase over the course of the next 9 years. And that's included in the district has been healthier since we redid those. So the ones in the middle are more conservative projections, and you could actually use that number if you prefer. That's really a choice you have. And then that will all be wrapped up in the IGA that obviously the district will have to agree to as well. Depending on what you say to me today, I will then work with them on preparing something to bring back to you.
And what was their project that they were doing?
It's a training facility.
A training facility for their people?
Yeah. A few meetings ago, we made a decision to expand the district boundary. As you know, it was something that was actually in the plan, but the boundary was never expanded. So we took care of that, and that's what that action was for, to accommodate their work there. And so that's what they're working on. And actually, if we can provide this funding, what I understand, I don't want to speak for them, but what I understand is if they can funnel more funding into the training facility, they can use the bond funding that they do have. They can pull that out of the training facility and use it for apparatus, equipment that the urban renewal funds cannot pay for.
Right.
So that's very considerate of you, Mr. Huff, to
Oh,
look
well,
at
thank
doing
you.
something like this and working with the fire department.
Yeah.
Has there been any discussion on what percentage on the dollar they're willing to go to?
No, I have not gotten to those details with them. It really, for me, it doesn't make a lot of sense for me to start working that way if I don't have direction from the agency to actually even have those conversations. So we've kind of stopped short of any of those kinds of discussions.
So that'll come back to us?
Yes.
And would you consider in the IGA, will there be an annual accounting to see that, that say the 700,000 doesn't exceed what was really owed them? Or will this just be?
Well, I think that language would have to be in the IGA that this is it, but,
Okay.
whatever it is, but the accounting would be done as part of the IGA. If you look at my memo, let me add it back to it, put my glasses on so I can see. Item 3.
Yep, and we did an analysis to demonstrate what portion of their
Yeah,
project.
so that will all be crafted
Yeah.
in the IGA.
Okay.
Because that's one of the things that has been difficult, if you will. This year was really easy because they have this project that is right there. And it's like, hey, that's a project that works exactly to the language of the IGA and the urban renewal plan. It's one of the easier ones we've done. Otherwise, it's like, well, we gotta have a capital description of what you want, and then it has to comply. So we've had to work with them periodically through that, and it's been annoying because partly it's because the amount of money is so small that it's hard, you know, when you're working. $50,000 is not no money at all, but when you talk about it in the world of public projects, it's not a lot. It's just not a lot. So.
I'm open to speak on the district's behalf if you'd like.
What?
I'm open to speak on the district's behalf if you'd like.
Come on up.
Yeah.
And just for the record, just state your name and your,
I don't live in town though, by the way.
right, just, you're with the fire, just state you're with the fire department.
And I hope he tells you that my description of things is accurate.
Dustin Hamilton, Division Chief. I'll be the next fire chief, Molalla Fire. So, Dan and I have spoke, I would say, pretty great lengths about this project. Couple of big concerns I have is the project we're doing right now is postage stamp. This is exactly what we're doing. Once this project is over, it's gonna be a struggle to find something to use this money for. Because we have to use it for capital improvement, I can't go buy a fire apparatus with it. This, if we can come to an agreement, this allows me to pull bond money out of our building project and be better stewards of our money for the district, because we went out to the district for a bond for equipment, a building, and a remodel. If I can put $700-ish thousand into the building, because I can't use it in Molina, I can only use it here in Molalla, that allows me to spend $700,000-ish to be better stewards of the district's money. So that's a huge thing for me. I want to address the percentage. I've seen the paperwork at like 9%. It's a risk for us too, right? So we went back and looked at the average over the entirety of the agreement. Comes out at 13% is the average, 11% is the mean. So I think 9% is probably a fair number, because we're taking a risk too, in the fact that if you guys end up making's the wrong word, collecting more money than what we were paid, I can't come back to the city and be like, you still owe us $100,000.
True.
So,
Right.
right, but it's also in the interest of the district that when we sign this paperwork with the city and the urban renewal, like, it needs to be terminated. We do not want to continue with this urban renewal after it's over. It really hamstrings what we can spend money on. I can't use it for people.
Right.
And as a fire district, I need people, I don't need things. Because last month we had a record year of 375 calls. It's 100 more than we've ever had before in a month. And so it's more important to me to have people than things. So that's my opinion on what we're talking about here. So hopefully I was able to shed some light on for you guys from the district standpoint. Obviously, Dan and I have to have further conversations as to what that number is, or percentage, or cents on the dollar, or what have you. So, do you have any questions for me?
No, that was good.
I
That was
appreciate
good.
it.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
absolutely.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And I think what he meant to say is I was accurate.
Sure.
You know,
Good answer.
they don't come very often. Don't make them mad.
Sure.
We appreciate you coming, Chief.
Yes.
Yes.
So you just need a consensus?
Yes.
I'm good with it.
I'm good.
I'm good.
Councilor Basenius?
I'm good.
Okay. That is unanimous. Up next, I want to rewind because I know our city recorder cringed her teeth when I skipped something. Public comment. Citizens are allowed up to 3 minutes to present information relevant to the city but not listed as an item on the agenda. Prior to speaking, citizens shall complete a comment form and deliver it to the city recorder. The agency does not generally engage in dialogue with those making comments, but may refer the issue to the agency director. Complaints should be first addressed at the department level prior to addressing the agency. Christy, do we have any public comment tonight?
None this evening, Chair.
Thank you, ma'am. All right. Up next, urban renewal plan, district inclusion for new library. Mr. Huff.
This one is, and I put the question at the beginning of the memo I wrote for you all. And really it's asking the urban renewal agency if we want to amend the urban renewal plan and district boundary to include the site and project to construct the new Molalla library, which is this site right here. Do we want to do that? We, as you know, we have 3.2 million in our library fund to construct the new library facility and all that. We also have some other funding that we need to use that's not library related for the interface of the new building and this building. That's not enough to do the whole project. We are looking diligently to find additional funding for that project, but we don't have it quite yet. So the idea that I'm bringing in front of you is we can expand the boundary kind of similarly to what we did with the fire district and include this building site right here inside the urban renewal district. It's not, I don't know why, but it kind of goes around the park for some reason and this building. We didn't have control of this building when the district was formed, so that maybe was part of it. And then we could use probably kind of similar to the the police station where we used urban renewal funds to kind of fill a gap when we needed it. We have asked and this isn't, we're not ready to bring some of this stuff back to you, but we kind of need to plug in some projects we've asked to have a financial company take a look at projections on what we could bond for. You recall I told you we look at creating more debt in the urban renewal district, which is kind of why we need the district around, is to pay back that debt. And it looks like which means we're a healthy city. We're looking at the ability to bring in $8 million for infrastructure, public project improvements. That's a far cry from where we were back in 2013. So the question is, and we'll get there if you want to include the project and you end up not wanting to spend the money on the district, you will have multiple opportunities to make that decision in the future. We would just set ourselves up to do that if we want to. So it's an opportunity to do that. And it could be totally limited to, you could limit the funding for only the infrastructure component of it, because we're gonna have to do some infrastructure work. When we get to that point, it could be that, or it could be nothing at all.
Questions or comments? Going once? Going twice? All right, consensus on moving forward? Counselor Visenius?
Yes, thumbs up.
All right,
That's all I have.
perfect. All right, this concludes the business for this meeting. If there's anything else for the good of the order, I will adjourn this meeting at 7:14.
Don't forget to take your